think Jacob's just about finished his apprenticeship, which is great. You know, he's got something to fall back on, and Todd and I work together, and you know, he's got something to fall back on, which is good.
I work for Country Energy, which is a power company. I'm an apprentice linesman. I'm just about finished my trade, so you know, I go to work from 7:30 till 4, and then you know, once I'm finished work, it's all about training and riding and stuff like that. It's definitely a hectic schedule, but I enjoy it, and that's what I want to do.
It's pretty good working for Dad. Anytime I need to go racing, he sort of gives me time off. But it's definitely hard too, because working for Dad, you sort of can't be slack or anything. You got to put in a good impression for the other workers too, so you got to work twice as hard, I guess, as what you would anywhere else. And as well as my normal job as a welder, I do like a few home mechanics sort of in my shed, just make a little bit of cash on the side, and sort of keeps me very busy. Sort of a couple of hours in the shed every night. Sort of plays up with my training a bit too, I guess. I really like doing it. Sort of at the moment, because all my race bikes are prepared before I get to the races, they're sort of, you miss out on that time preparing a machine.
The boys do all their own work now, which is great as far as working on the bikes go. That's, you know, they've learnt that from an early age, which they had to. I was busy working and whatever, and sometimes there was, you know, motors to be rebuilt and whatever, and never had time to. And Todd learnt really early, and Jacob is now. He's getting good at it. But they've learnt to look after themselves totally.
Having the knowledge of a motorcycle in the safari is definitely a big help. They do what they call marathon days, which is days where the service crew can't touch your bike. So if you get to a stage and being a lot of dust, you've got to change an air filter out in the middle of nowhere, or tighten the chain, or if you get a flat tyre, you change a tube. Jacob broke his fuel tap in safari last year, and he had to plug it up with a stick and dodge a few fittings up like on the side of the track to get him through. He also crashed once and cracked his radiator and put a bit of pepper in there, and it sealed that up, and he finished the event on the radiator. So little things you got to know in the middle of nowhere.
I've got a program at the moment where I'm at the gym 3 or 4 times a week, cycle a couple times a week, run. A lot of people don't realise how physical riding a motorbike is.
I definitely get to the gym when I can and when I've got enough energy sort of thing. By the time you race on the weekend and get back to work, you're sort of a bit buggered, so you can't sort of overtrain. I find it sets me back a lot.
And that's what works too. Like every time, if Todd ever does come training, we train together and push each other. But that's where I look at Todd and see myself. I'm pretty lucky where I'm still living at home. Sort of don't want to make him train too much, because then he'll start beating me. So.
Before safari, I do a lot of miles on the motorbike. Sort of just go out and ride for a couple hundred k's and just get used to doing that.
Riding a bike is the best training you can get, because it's, you know, it's exactly what you're doing. If you want to be a step ahead of the competition, then that's what it takes to do it.
As far as racing together goes, they're probably more competitive with one another than they are with anyone else. It's quite uncanny actually. There's 40 guys on the grid in some of these races, and Todd and Jacob seem to be able to find one another.
One of the first times we raced together, he took me out on the start. Like, we started next to each other and he crashed and took me out.
It's uncanny really, and some of the rounds of the stadium crosses and state titles and we did and stuff like that, they were in the same race, they'd finish very close to one another, yeah. If they didn't take each other out in the first corner or something, yeah.
Yeah. Well, every time we have a local motocross meeting at our local track, we always end up sort of racing each other head to head, and we've sort of got a bit of a tally going. I've beat Jake a fair few times, and he's beat me a few times, but
fair few, come on, mate.
A couple.
Once they get on the bikes, it's full on. Yeah, they definitely try and beat one another. There's no doubt about that.
You know, I race to win, and so does Todd, and always seem to find that extra little bit if Todd's in front of me, or especially when I'm in front of Todd, he always finds that extra strength to try and beat me.
Yeah, every time Jake and I race, I always want to beat him. That's my goal. Like this year at the Hatter Desert race, like I qualified 14th and Jake was 7th or something, and I just put my head down until I raced to him, and then we ended up racing for a few laps.
It's definitely competition the whole time. It makes it fun, and we get to joke about it when we're not at the races too. So.
Very close, really.
Yeah.
They bounce things off one another all the time.
Yeah, they, you know, a good example was last year on the safari, in the Australian safari. They're both riding for totally different teams. They'd be very competitive during the day, go as hard as they could, but as soon as they got off their bikes, they'd sit down and discuss the day with one another. And
just a big help having Jacob there of a night time after we finished racing and stuff. We get our maps and mark them together and talk about our near misses and what our plan is for the next day and just sort of unwind together pretty much. And someone good to hang out with, not only my brother, he's just a good mate.
I'm not riding solo really, we get to go and do it together and it helps out a lot. It's comforting to go to a race like Safari and know that you got your brother there and I'd do anything to help him out and he'd do anything to help me. So if we can work together as a team, even though we're not on the same bike, to beat the rest of the field, then that's what we got to do.
A lot of guys that don't know the boys find that a bit hard to work out. They're riding for different teams, but as far as each other goes, they help each other out as much as they can, yeah.
Todd sort of pioneered a lot, learned a lot when he was a junior on training and racing and all that sort of stuff, and I got to see it coming through.
Yeah, I think Jake listens to me a bit. Like I try to, give him the best advice that I can, but he sort of knows everything that I know now, and he's a well sort of worn racer.
I always looked after my brother pretty much because he was 4 or 5 years older than me and he was doing well, and I always wanted to, to do what he done.
Tremendously proud of them.
Most definitely, no doubt. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. And they got something they can relate to. They go away skiing and all that sort of thing together, but they've got the bike sort of brings them together, and I'm sure it will forever.
Yeah, Mum was hopeless back when we were juniors. She never ever watched. I think the only race that she ever watched start to finish was it came down to the last race for the Australian title when I was 14, and she watched every lap, and yeah, she was crying at the end of it and stuff like that. So that was pretty special.
I was a very nervous mother on the sideline.
Yeah, we still are, aren't we?
Yeah, we still are. Actually, I think it gets worse as they get older and we get older.
Yeah. Part of the deal, I think. You sort of learn to live with it, like people say, oh, how do you let them do it? But they enjoy what they're doing.
I had some broken wrists in there and broke my shoulder, so I had 6 months off with that. I broke my wrist at the start of the year. Broke my wrist at the start of 2009. Had a big crash and broke my leg and my collarbone and my ribs all at once.
Seen the boys have a couple of, big accidents and pretty serious injuries, and it worries you a bit more as they go on.
Ever since that crash, he's been a nervous wreck, like on safari and stuff like that. He's always worrying about us, and he doesn't like to watch as much anymore.
I've been pretty fortunate in my career with injuries. I haven't had too many.
Most of the moments that you remember are accidents more, and when they win or when they have accidents, is the ones that you remember, yeah.
Sort of this type of rider, just not to push my limits too much, so I sort of know where I'm going too far. Yeah, I think that's why Jacob's had more injuries than me. He doesn't really think about things too much. He just pushes himself as far as he has to go to win.
I think the day that I actually am truly scared of what I do, then I'll give up. But I don't see that day coming. I'm still hope to be racing when I'm 50, so.